Have you ever taken a train from Paris to Berlin or driven from Italy to Austria? You might have noticed something incredible, or rather, the lack of something: a border check. No passport stamps, no guards, no long queues. It feels like you're traveling within one giant country. This is the magic of the Schengen area, one of the greatest achievements of European integration. It's a space where over 400 million people can live, work, and travel freely across 29 countries. This dream of a borderless Europe was born from the ashes of war, a symbol of peace and unity. The idea was simple but revolutionary. If we trade with each other and visit each other, we're less likely to fight each other. And for decades, it worked beautifully. It boosted economies, connected cultures, and made life easier for millions. But there's a paradox at the heart of this open-door paradise. To keep the inside open, the outside had to be closed, and closed tightly. Welcome to Europe's border paradox. The story begins in 1985, in a small village in Luxembourg called Schengen. 5 countries, France, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, signed an agreement to gradually abolish checks at their common borders. This was a huge leap of faith. For centuries, borders were symbols of national power and identity. Removing them meant trusting your neighbors completely. Over the years, more and more countries joined in. The Schengen area expanded, creating the largest free travel zone in the world. It's an amazing feeling to just hop on a plane or a bus and end up in a different country without any fuss. It's something many of us now take for granted. But this internal freedom came with a price. The deal was this: we can remove our internal borders, but only if we make our shared external border ironclad. This shared border stretches for thousands of kilometers, from the icy north of Finland to the sunny beaches of Greece. And guarding it became a collective responsibility. This is where the other side of the story begins. The side you do and see when you're sipping coffee in a Viennese cafe after driving from Munich. To protect the freedom of movement within, Europe had to build what some call Fortress Europe. This meant creating a sophisticated system to control who comes in and who goes out. The agency responsible for this monumental task is Frontex, the European Border and Coast Guard Agency. Think of Frontex as the super guardian of Schengen's external frontiers. It was created in 2004 with a modest budget and staff, mainly to coordinate national border guards. But its role has exploded over the past 2 decades. Today, Frontex is one of the EU's most well-funded agencies, with a standing corps of uniformed officers, its own ships, planes, and high-tech surveillance equipment. They use everything from thermal cameras and drones to satellite imagery to monitor the borders. Their job is to prevent unauthorized crossings, combat cross-border crime, and manage migration flows. It's a massive and incredibly complex operation. So, why the need for such a fortress? The pressure on Europe's external borders has intensified dramatically. In 2015, the continent faced an unprecedented migration crisis. Over 1 million people, many fleeing war and persecution in countries like Syria, arrived in Europe seeking asylum. This put the Schengen system under immense strain. Some countries, overwhelmed by the influx, temporarily reintroduced border checks, threatening the very foundation of the free movement area. It was a wake-up call. The crisis revealed that the system was not prepared for such a large-scale movement of people. It highlighted the tension between the humanitarian obligation to help refugees and the political need to control borders. This is the core of the paradox. The more open Europe is on the inside, the more pressure there is to be strict on the outside. The response was to double down on external border control. Frontex's budget and powers were significantly expanded. The agency went from a coordinator to an active player on the ground, deploying its own officers to support national border guards in hotspots like Greece and Italy. New technologies were rolled out. The EU is building massive interconnected databases to track everyone who enters or leaves the Schengen area. Soon, visitors who don't need a visa will have to pre-register online through a system called ETIAS, similar to the ESTA system in the United States. Biometric data like fingerprints and facial scans are becoming standard. In essence, the physical borders you don't see inside Europe are being replaced by digital borders that are everywhere. This digital fortress is designed to be seamless for most travelers, but for others, it represents a formidable barrier. This push for stronger external borders has sparked a lot of debate. On one hand, supporters argue that strong borders are essential for security. They say that in an age of terrorism and organized crime, you need to know who is crossing your borders. It's a matter of public safety and maintaining the trust that underpins the Schengen system. If citizens don't feel secure, they might demand the return of national borders and the whole project could unravel. From this perspective, Frontex and high-tech surveillance aren't about building a fortress. They're about preserving freedom. They are the necessary tools to keep the dream of a borderless Europe alive. Without control at the external border, the argument goes, the internal freedom of movement would be impossible to sustain politically. On the other hand, critics raise serious concerns. Human rights organizations have accused Frontex and some national border guards of being involved in illegal pushbacks, forcing migrants and asylum seekers back across a border without allowing them to claim asylum, which is a violation of international law. There are numerous reports and videos documenting these alleged pushbacks at sea and on land. Critics argue that the focus on security and deterrence has created a hostile environment for people in desperate need of protection. They say that Fortress Europe is turning its back on its humanitarian values. The high-tech surveillance systems also raise privacy concerns. The idea of a massive database tracking the movements of millions of people makes many uncomfortable. Is the price of free movement the creation of a surveillance state? Moreover, some question the effectiveness of this strategy. They argue that building higher walls, both physical and digital, doesn't stop people from trying to come. It just forces them to take more dangerous and expensive routes, often enriching smuggling networks. People fleeing war, persecution, or extreme poverty are incredibly resilient and determined. A wall or a drone won't deter someone who has nothing left to lose. Instead of focusing solely on security, critics suggest that Europe should invest more in addressing the root causes of migration, such as conflict, climate change, and poverty in other parts of the world. They also call for creating more safe and legal pathways for people to apply for asylum, so they don't have to risk their lives crossing the Mediterranean or the Balkans. This approach would be more humane and, in the long run, potentially more effective at managing migration. So, where does this leave us? The Schengen area remains a remarkable achievement. The ability to travel freely across a continent is a privilege that enhances lives and economies, but it's a fragile privilege. It exists in a constant state of tension between openness and control, between freedom and security, between humanitarian ideals and political realities. The future of a borderless Europe depends on finding a sustainable balance. This means not only securing external borders, but also upholding the rule of law and human rights. It means working together as a continent to share the responsibility of managing migration in a fair and humane way. It also means looking beyond the borders and engaging with the world to promote stability and development. The paradox of Europe's borders is not going away anytime soon. It's a reflection of the complex challenges our interconnected world faces. As you enjoy your next trip across a seamless European border, remember the invisible fortress that makes it possible and the complex human stories that unfold along its edges. The debate over how to balance freedom and security will continue to shape the future of Europe and, in many ways, the future of borders everywhere. What do you think is the right balance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this interesting, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world.